Welcome to tonight's Corporate Service Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, May the 20th, and I am your chair, Shelley Broderick. First, I'd like to send regrets from Mayor Gannan and Councillor O'Reilly. They are not able to attend tonight's meeting. I just have a couple of notes to the public. All cell phones, pagers, and or PDAs are to be turned off. Members of the public who are attending and participating virtually are reminded to keep their microphones muted until they are acknowledged to speak. Additionally, for your information, please be advised that this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and will be available on the Township website. Comments can be made from members of the public for a matter that is on the agenda by advising the chair during their request to address an item on the agenda section of the agenda. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 p.m. on the day of the committee meeting will be considered at the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included in the record. Again, the meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township website. It is my honor to read the land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship on the lands in which we live. Is there any changes in order of the items on the agenda for anyone? Seeing none. Moving on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest. Do any committee members have a conflict? Seeing none. And that brings me to number 5, appointments. Item 5.1, CS 36-25, Bruce Squires and Aaron Levo, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, rebuilding of West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for attending tonight, and we are very excited to see the PowerPoint presentation.
How about now? There we go. That sounds much better. Chair, members of council, to the other leaders present, thanks very much for having Bruce and I tonight. My name's Aaron Levo. I'm the Vice President of People, Culture, and Communications at Hamilton Health Sciences, and really excited to be here tonight with such fantastic news about our new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital site, which is only months away from opening to the public this year, which is fantastic. I was saying to Bruce, I've been to this council many times talking about the project itself and its development, and now to be here talking about the opening is a real treat for me. I'm sure for all of you and our viewing public as well. So it's if you haven't driven by and seen the facility, it's quite something now. And we're going to have some photos of the inside as well and a little bit of information about what will be happening in the next weeks and months as we get approaching to that official opening to the public. I'll introduce my colleague, Bruce Squires, who will be giving a lot of the slide. He'll be doing most of the presentation tonight. I'm really just the warm-up act. And so Bruce is our president at McMaster Children's Hospital and also our vice president for Women's and Children's Health. And he is also our site executive for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. what that means on a day-to-day, as Bruce has got a lot of things to look after, but he is the go-to executive for all things related to that particular hospital site. And so he and his team will be working dutifully on the opening, as will I. So I think that's probably enough for me. I'll be present for the questions, but I'm going to ask Bruce to come up and talk a little bit more about the facility itself, what's inside, and what you can expect in the weeks ahead.
Good evening. Thanks very much, Aaron, for the introduction. And again, Chair, Councillors, it's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be able to join you tonight. It's my first opportunity to present to Council, and I'm obviously privileged that I've been able to, see the hard work that has already gone into the development of the new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, not just over the few years that we've been in construction mode, but clearly over the previous, honestly, decades. The investment of the community, obviously patients and families, and our teams in developing excellence that exists now, but positioning us for a really, really exciting future going forward. So I'm again honored to be able to give you a little bit of an update on where we stand and what's the next few months going to look like en route to the opening. So. First of all, a bit of a progress report, and then I'll talk to you about timelines. But we're at this place now where, and you'll see it, the building is up, as Aaron described as you drive by. Now, it's not a hole in the ground. It is clearly a hospital on its way to opening. Within that, the project teams have been working really hard, and some of the key things were actually to the point of testing the mechanical and electrical systems that will form, of course, the inner workings, if you like, the circulatory system of the new hospital. We've started to take deliveries of the furniture and the fixtures, and as we receive those, we have the opportunity to set them up and to begin to test. So testing the interior, obviously, as happens with a home, you start to look for where do you have those things that might not quite work on the first test. So we're identifying the minor issues that might exist and proceeding to address them. A hospital, for sure, is a building, but really most importantly, it's people that work within and care for patients and families. So again, we've started to train our teams to the new building and some of the new technology. A neat thing that's kind of an inside piece, but from within the staff at West Lincoln, we've now identified 18 sort of training and activation champions. Those are folks that put their hands up and said, I'd like to maybe come out of my day-to-day role for a few weeks, actually it's going to be a few months, and really take on the role of learning the new system, learning the new hospital, and then being the champion for my colleagues as they move to adapt. So that's some of the highlights, but of course for you, like us, you're probably interested in the timelines. The first reference there, substantial completion. As we talk to our teams about what does that mean, well, it means the builders are going to hand over the keys to us in late July. That doesn't mean we start to truly operate the hospital, but that's when we really have the major construction finished, and we're able to start doing the real work of getting ready for patient move-in and the official launch. That period in between those two dates is what we'll call a transition period. And it's about 13 weeks really of setting everything up, orienting the staff and finalizing all of the key pieces, making sure all your painting's done if you're building a house, making sure again that everything is working well. We'll actually look to move patients in, plan for on or around October 26th. And so that's of course a date that still has to have a little bit of flexibility. You don't want to lock in for sure until you get closer to that period, but it's interesting. So that would be the date that we would hope to move patients from the existing hospital over to the new hospital. We would then probably do the launch. If we did it the next day, October 27th, that would actually be 76 years from the date that the existing hospital opened. Not approximately 76 years, exactly 76 years. So it opened on October 27th, 1949, and there's a possibility we'll be opening on the 27th. Again, it's a possibility, so we have to be flexible. I shouldn't get too excited, but obviously that notion, I think, is really significant and meaningful, and it says something for what we're trying to accomplish. Let's remind you a little bit about what's the new hospital going to look like, and in some ways, how is it different from the hospital that has served this community so well over the past 3/4 of a century. The footprint in particular is striking. It's about 80% larger than our existing building. 55 beds plus 6 really state-of-the-art labor, delivery, recovery, and postpartum care rooms, which are really the birthing rooms, or suites, if you like. So a total of 61 patient care spaces, which is 11 more care spaces than the existing, or if you like, 20% more in terms of our existing hospital. And what is that going to mean? Well, we're going to see a significant improvement in patient comfort and patient experience. And patient experience means that of the individual, but of their family, of their caregivers, of their supports. And a key piece there is every one of those rooms is private. So those are single patient rooms. And Aaron mentioned in one of my other roles, the president of McMaster Children's Hospital. I can tell you the vast majority of our rooms are not single patient and single family rooms. And the difference in the experience for a patient and for their family is remarkable. And of course, that's about experience, but it's also about safety. Much better ability to prevent the spread of infection, for example, in individual patient rooms. We're a new building, so I'll also just highlight that we're going to be in a much better place to have a sustainable, environmentally friendly impact on our community and, frankly, on the entire world. In terms of the programs and services, everything that we're able to do at West Lincoln now will continue. We're adding some things like the sports therapy program. Again, in particular, we're adding all of those extra beds I mentioned, and we're seeing really state-of-the-art equipment coming over and, in many cases, replacing what might have been older and aging equipment and technology. And, I'll just highlight again, Aaron has put it so well that, the experience for our teams right now, of course, is often dealing with what happens when you're in a 75-year-old building. And you have to adopt workarounds as you deal with leaks, as you deal with floods, as you deal with challenges to the infrastructure. Going into a new building that is actually built for the 21st century is just going to be remarkably different for our teams, and I can tell you they're very, very excited. So, you see on the slide a little bit of the services that will be available in the new building. I'll say that when we launch, of course, like when you move into a house, there's a little bit of a period of ramp up, and so we're going to have that process where we get in, we test, we start to grow, and then we respond according to the needs of the community. That's convenient because that's also the way the government funding programs work. There's a little bit of a phase-in of the operating funds that come with this new building. Phase-in is over a number of years, but we know that there's flexibility, and I can share that we're not unique, of course, in the province in terms of building a new hospital and moving into it. As our teams have spent remarkable amounts of time with the Capital Branch at the Ministry of Health and with other officials, we've become really confident that we're really being viewed and treated in a very similar and fair manner to all of the other hospitals that are built in the province. And so that is a period of ramp up. That is a period of lots of discussions, but ultimately we're on a very good track. Okay, so enough about that. Let's look at what's really interesting. A couple of the pictures, and these two slides, and particularly I think the slide on the right, where you can, at the bottom left corner of that slide, you can see the existing hospital. Well, that'll give you a real good sense of the difference in the size and scale of the new hospital. Let's look a little bit at the inside, and as we look there on the left, you see one of the hallways. On the right, we've got an inpatient room. Just the walls and the floors are so different from the existing hospital. But if you look on the right, you'll get a sense of what does it mean to be in one of these single patient rooms. And it's a little bit obscured by the video there, but to the right of that slide is a private washroom, which is also available in each of the inpatient rooms. And so, again, a remarkable difference from an experience for anyone who has stayed at or had their family admitted to the existing hospital. This next gives you a sense of some of the common areas. On the right is what's often called a nursing station or a care station. And so you'll see the way it's positioned. It gives our teams an ability to, when they're huddling and working in a interdisciplinary manner, they still have sight lines out to the patient rooms across the service. On the right is one of our registration desks, and again, you can get a sense of the openness, the real sharp lines and clear colors, and how much more of a clean experience we really think we're going to be able to offer. So that's a whirlwind tour of a little bit of the new hospital. I'm going to turn it back now to Aaron so he can bring us home, and then we can move to questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Bruce. Just wanted to highlight we will be having tours for each of the 3 West Niagara councils, so those will be planned in the near future. We want to keep our construction team on time, so we're not going to get in their hair right away at this moment, but we understand from them that opportunity should be coming up in June, if not just thereafter. So we'll have some tours, and then as we get closer to the October opening date, there's a series of events we've planned, certainly for the staff, certainly for our donors, certainly for the larger community as well, to come out and celebrate the opening of the new site. And we'll have some commemorative moments for all of that to go hand in hand with it. And as well, the patient move-in October 27th, when the doors will open, appointments will start being generated at the hospital, and we'll have people visiting, and we'll go from there. So that's, but happy to answer any questions you might have about anything that we've said tonight.
Thank you very much to both of you. I'll turn to my colleagues. Councillor Maychuk.
First of all, congratulations, even though it's premature, on your progress. It's very excited and certainly well needed, especially at this time when healthcare is so important. You talked about the size of the building being larger and additional rooms. In terms of surgical procedures, will you be able to increase the number, knowing that so many people are on waiting lists and sometimes taking a long time before they can get needed surgery? So I just wanted to ask that question, and then I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone is likely aware that there is an increase in the overall surgical capacity at the site. Now, I'll say this, we're still operating in a context, and that context is a significant number of backlogs. So it's kind of like having a new car and getting onto an already crowded highway. You're not necessarily going to get through the traffic jam a lot faster, but you'll be able to perform better. Like, we expect that we'll be able to increase surgical output over time. As Bruce said, it is certainly a ramp up as we go, so we can increase our staffing, et cetera. But our goal is to make a strong contribution to that backlog, and in particular the people that we serve directly.
And Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the presentation. I know it's something that's been needed for this community for a long time. As building a project in this community, obviously a bigger facility that we decided to build back a little while back. Obviously, the big question is staffing levels. You have nothing on your presentation on how much staffing is going to be increased for this facility. If you can maybe touch on, because that's the number one thing obviously we're facing in Ontario is obviously wait times, not adequate staffing, so on and so forth. But I was just looking if you have any information on staffing levels, like how much is it going to be increased with the new hospital, or if not, but by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Great question. Thank you for asking it. I'll start, and I'll invite Bruce to maybe give a little bit more granular detail at the site. In one of my capacities, I'm also our executive accountable for human resources at the hospital.
Okay.
And there's no doubt the entire sector has some gaps and challenges. For Hamilton Health Sciences, we've been performing very well. Our vacancy rate is lower compared to most Ontario Hospital Association benchmark comparators, so other peers that we benchmark against. It's not to say we have everyone we need. We certainly need more people, and we're hiring all the time. There's always vacancies. But I wouldn't sit here and say to you that it's going to be a rate limiting factor for what we'll do. Now, Bruce has mentioned there is a ramp up. You don't go and hire everybody and have them waiting at the door. It's sort of a put and take as the public accesses services. We staff up as we go so that we're being good stewards of the resources that were provided. And that's a process that's followed throughout the province. But as for recruitment, we're very confident in our ability in that regard, and we have a great team there. And you know what? Having a new facility is a huge magnet for talent. Who doesn't want to work in a brand new hospital facility in this day and age? But Bruce may wish to add some specifics about how we're going about recruiting and the nature of the teams.
Sure.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks for the question. And I really want to underline that the opportunity to work in a new hospital, and for so many to come back and to work in your community when maybe you've been working outside of the local region, or maybe all the way into Toronto is already playing out. We are fully staffed as it relates to our nursing staff at West Lincoln, and most of the other positions, and that is quite different than where we've been over the past 6 years in really all hospitals across Ontario. And it's quite clear that that part of that is that opportunity to work in a new hospital, and as I said, to come back. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the names on the resumes, the addresses on the resumes. So it's pretty exciting. We will be in a ramp-up period in terms of the new hiring, and so that's going to depend as it goes along. But I can tell you that we believe we are fully positioned for the opening to be able to offer the full range of services at the full volume as expected on the ramp-up. So that's great.
Okay, thank you for that, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
Councillor Cheetah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is great news, and it was so good to see your names on the agenda and to see you again, at least Aaron, and welcome.
Thank you.
It's a building that we've all waited for long and hard, and I was on the hospital board representing this fine community when we were in the early stages and the very vocal stages, and the cold. I have about 3 T-shirts, so I've had those, and it's now good to get to the real thing. But we've come a long way, and I'm sure that in those early days we never thought it would come. But Mr. Squires, early in those days we realized that a hospital is just a bunch of bricks and mortar, and it truly, as you said, is the people. And we had the magnet that people wanted. Women lined up to come to our maternal child when it was in such terrible state and decay, and brought their own fans to have their children because the staff was so wonderful and the attitude was so wonderful. So hopefully we get some of those people back. I know a lot of them have retired. I know that when I left the board, we put Councillor Ganan on, and that is a person who has been so delighted and a very steady hand at representing this community as that hospital came along. And soon we'll be able to see the fruits of your work and the labor of everyone involved. I need to say that we need to be thankful to all the provincial governments that gave a hand in this. The parties changed, but the focus and the dedication didn't. And the current government certainly extended far greater gifts than we ever thought we'd see in that development. So from this community on, thank you to all of those politicians that did their thing. To the staff, present, past, and future, I can only hope that you have a very enjoyable time as they come back to being full-time in the new hospital. And for the work that you and the staff at Hamilton Health Sciences have done, what a great journey we'll look back on and talk about the next 75 years. So I have to say also thank you to the communities who did come out and who made a very loud voice to explain. We didn't want to go somewhere else. We wanted that Blue H in Grimsby, down there with West Lincoln Memorial, meaning all of West Niagara. And the fight is now over. The people are on the ground, and we look forward to being there. I have one question. Are those hallways wide enough? For all that future equipment that's going to be stored in there and the extra people who have to sit there because emergencies fall, I would hope that will be a thing of the past in this hospital, at least for a long time. The future that we all want to know and understand.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor, for certainly for those comments and also for the question. I'll say the answer is yes in terms of the width of this hallway, as much as it can be. You know, frontline teams will say to you, the hallways are never wide enough, right? Never wide enough. But of course, the trade-off then is the patients are too far apart. So but we're in a place where those again, I talked about the Children's Hospital. You would see a lot of envy on the part of our teams that work there in terms of the width and the space, particularly again in that case in the labor and delivery area. If I could, I do just want to say two other things. First of all, Councillor said congratulations to us. You know, apropos your comments, congratulations back to you. In addition to thank you, right? This is your community hospital that you have built over decades, right? Decades of action and activism. And the other thing I just wanted to highlight, I had the pleasure of spending Friday again out at West Lincoln. It was Nurses Week as we were walking around, and you know, just to your point around the community, had a great conversation with one of the volunteers in our emergency department, and got to learn of her daughter that was working in the emergency department, and her granddaughter that just started to work in the supplies area, and the fact that the great-granddaughter had just been born at West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. So 4 generations just in the moment, and you know, that's not the first generational story that I've heard as I've walked around the hospital, and so many who said, yeah, it's been part of my community, and I'm so glad to be working here now. So.
Very good. Is that all, Councillor?
Yes, thanks.
I will, as the chair, you know, you get to have the comments last, and as usual, some of my colleagues have stolen some of my questions. However, when you started your presentation, I got chills. You know, I am thrilled to see this finally coming. We were on the brink of leaving this community in West Niagara just because we worried about the fact if we would have sustainable health care for us when we not have already got there, our ages when we need it the most, and very thrilled to see this coming to our community. And just to expand on Councillor Trombetta, he asked around staffing levels. Do you know how large of an employer West Lincoln Memorial Hospital is and perhaps will be when the doors do open?
So thank you for the question. You know, I'm going to have to come back with exactly the numbers of staff, because I want to make sure to give you exactly the right number.
With all those titles you had, I assumed you knew the answer to all questions.
No, I want to give you the right number. I have the range, but I want to give you the right number. You know, one of the pieces, and I think it's really important to highlight, and Aaron, maybe I'll turn to Aaron to be even more specific here, but we really take significant pride and responsibility in exactly that vein of our role as an employer in our community, and with over 18,000 folks across all of Hamilton Health Sciences, we're one of the largest employers in the region, and it's this type of partnership that plays such a big role in that. We're going to see the ramp up of over a period of time of adding double-digit percentages to the number of team members working at West Lincoln, but I'm going to get to that exactly what the number is. Erin, can I turn it to you if there's anything else you want to add on that? Okay.
So hopefully this is just one more question, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it or not. But one of the things that I'm excited to see was some of those diagnostic opportunities that are included on the one slide. We know that there is a long overdue CT scanner that's and will be transferred into the new site. And I saw a list of some other diagnostic opportunities. Are those new to the hospital, or are they existing in the old? And do we have sites on other further diagnostic opportunities that could come to the new site, so it could keep our residents from having to go into Hamilton or Niagara to receive those tests?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. It's a combination. So certainly many of the services we've been able to offer, and in some cases with relatively new equipment. In many cases, though, what we're now seeing is an ability to provide those services with more up-to-date, safer, more technologically advanced equipment, including in the case of CT, ultrasound, et cetera. So we're going to be able to, we will be doing additional volumes right at ramp up, but then the extent to which we're able to grow that is a product of the ramp up period, but also our continued work with government in a tight environment to seek out opportunities to, in hospital terms, you talk about adding volumes, in other words, really taking care of more patients locally. So that's work still to be done to ensure that we're able to completely optimize. The last part of your question, I do really want to emphasize that this is a continuous journey and a continuous journey of improvement. And so when we think about how do we take care of or take advantage of the new hospital and the new technology and our new people, many of those questions are really only going to be answered as we get into it and we start to look for opportunities to innovate, to deliver care closer to home. So we have some neat things going on with hospital-to-home programs, with work with our long-term care partners, with our partners in the areas of first responders, particularly our paramedic partners. But you're going to see so much more opportunity to run with that once we get going.
Such great news. On behalf of all of us, thank you very much for your presentation, and we all look forward to the tours that will be available to us in the near future.
Well, thank you
for
very much.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the next item, which is the request to address items on the agenda. Please note that 1 hour in total shall be allocated for this section of the agenda, and each individual person shall only be provided with 5 minutes to address their issues. Some exceptions may apply. A response may be provided, and the matter may be referred to staff. Are there any members of the public that are present tonight who wish to address any items on the Corporate Service Committee agenda? Seeing none. Kevin, is there anybody virtually that has anything they would like to address?
Not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Thank you. 7, consent agenda items. There are none for this evening. Moving on to number 8, communications. That brings us to item CS 38-25, the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, minutes from their May 8th, 2025 meeting. The recommendation is, 1, that the minutes from the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee dated May 8, 2025, be received. And can I have a mover? Councillor Chichuk, second by Councillor Maychuk. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Rayner.
Thank you. Through to the CAO, if the recommendation starts with number 1, where's 2, 3, and 4? Like, if we're going to number them, that means there is more than 1. Otherwise, there'd be no need to put a 1.
Through the chair to Councilor Rayner, I appreciate your attention to detail. I'll ensure in the future, when there is one recommendation, I do remove the number 1. I apologize.
So there is no other ones?
There is no number 2.
Oh, all right, thanks.
Seeing no other questions, the vote will come up in front of you. And that carries. And moving along to staff reports. Item 9.1, item CS 39-25, Director of Corporate Services, CFO Caitlin Repovs, Recommendation Report T-10-2025, Unsuccessful Tax Sale Property. Recommendation 1, that recommendation report T-10-2025, titled Unsuccessful Tax Property, dated May 20, 2025, be received, and 2, that the treasurer be authorized under sections 354 bracket 2 and 3 of the Municipal Act to write off outstanding taxes, penalties, and interest as uncollectible in the amount of $263,576.53 for the property described as roll number 26020100003 12300 PIN 46068-0099, and 3, that the treasurer be authorized under sections 353 bracket 2 and 3 of the Municipal Act to charge back to the proportionate uncollectible amounts to the region of Niagara and the applicable boards of education, and 4, that the treasurer be authorized to place the property up for tax sale following the adjustments in recommendations number 2 and 3 above. Do I have a mover? Councillor Trombetta, second by Councillor Chichuk. And I will go to the director if she would like to make some comments about her staff report.
Thank you, Chair Broderick. So I'll just provide a little bit of a summary of the report. So in October of 2024, the Township conducted a municipal tax sale for 4 eligible properties. One of those properties received no bids and remains outstanding, and that is the property that's presented in the report presented to Council this evening. The property is known as 702 John Street. Administration is recommending that Council approve that the property is relisted for tax sale after the taxes and penalties are written off as uncollectible in the amount of $263,576.53. This would result in a write-off of the Township portion of taxes and penalties in the amount of $206,659.89, of which the Township has an appropriate provision for uncollectible taxes account to offset the impact to the operating fund. The remaining write-off amount of $56,916.64 relates to amounts apportioned to the region and the boards of education and would be recovered from those respective bodies. Once the property is relisted for tax sale, the property will be at a significantly lower cancellation price, which increases the likelihood of attracting a potential purchaser. Further, under this option, the municipality does not take ownership of the property and therefore would not be responsible for the risks of ownerships. Happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
Thank you very much, Director. I will go to Councillor Trombetta. He has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So through you, Madam Chair, I don't know if Caitlin can answer this question, but this is the old gas station in Casterville that we all know about. I've been dealing with this property for over a decade. There's the mysterious no owners. This place needs a lot of, remediation to clean it up. I don't see this property selling because of the environmental cleanup that's required on this property. So through you, Madam Chair, to the CAO, what happens if a property does not go for well, I guess, tax sale and no one purchases it because the remediation cleanup will probably way exceeds the value of the property?
Through you, Madam Chair. I might have to have Mr. Repovs backstop me here, but this, in no situation would the municipality be compelled to assume the property. I think we certainly have the option to do so, but the process doesn't compel us to take the ownership. Ms. Repovs, do you have anything further to add in the context?
Sure. Through you, Chair Broderick, to Councillor Trombetta. So the options presented to Council this evening are that the township could vest the property. So that means that the township would take ownership of the property, and we'd be able to use the property as we wish. In that case, the taxes would be fully written off. And if the township council desired, that property could eventually be resold in an open market in the future. If this property is relisted for tax sale, as administration is recommending, if it is not successful, once again, as the first time it was not successful, we would be presenting another report back to council as for the next options. If nothing is done with this property, in that the property remains owned by the current owners, the township does not vest, the property would remain as is, and it would continue to be charged property taxes, and it would continue to accrue interest as well.
Okay.
I hope that answers part of your question.
Well, somewhat. It does answer some of the questions. Thank you for that, Mrs. Repovs. This property has been tax arrears for almost over a decade. The owners have not been found. We've never found the owners still for this property, at least not to my knowledge, that we can't find the owners who they are. The property has been getting, again, in arrears and arrears and arrears. We understand there's a remedial, some cleanup that has to be because obviously the gas wells have leaked or leached into the neighboring streets there, that this property does require massive cleanup. So my question is, as a township, if we cannot recoup any of this money, what do we do with the property? Can we build something on the property? Now, I'm not saying a home, maybe we can, I don't know. I know Councillor Maychuk's mentioned that just because we talked before. Council, a dog park or something. What can be built, and what can we do with this property as a township? And I know this might be tough for, it's more of a Garrett question. What can be done to this property if we do not get anybody to buy this property, which we haven't, and it's been such a long time. So I'm open to suggestions and other comments. So maybe, Madam Chair, to the CAO.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I don't think that we've taken a look at this particular property through the Parks and Rec Master Plan, or whether or not there's been any other work done other than looking to divest the property. If there is certainly risk attached if the municipality were to assume that ownership with contamination in the ground. So at this point, I'm not certain that's a path that we'd like to go down in the municipality sustaining ownership. So I think what we need to do is take a look, see if we are successful in being able to sell off the property this time around. If we continue to not make headway, then we'll have to come back with some alternative options to council.
And thank you, Mr. Cios, for my last comment, because, you know, as that ward councillor, as many councillors here, we've been getting pressure for that property because of its in state, because it becomes a dumping ground because of the condition that it is. So, you know, I'd like to see this property, something happen to it in the future instead of it sitting dormant for such a long period of time. Again, it's not nobody's, I guess, not the township's fault because it's belonged to somebody, but again, you know, this property has been nothing but a dumping ground for garbage and couches, and I get multiple calls calling, you know, Public Works to come clean some areas up because residents do call in that area. So I'd like to see something done with this property, and what options do we have, because it's been almost a decade now and nothing's been done about this property. So, if not even more. So, anyways, thank you, Madam Chair. Those are my comments.
Councillor Chichak, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would agree with Councillor Trombetta's last comment, and that is this is well over a decade that this property's been around. We are all familiar with it. It has a difficult configuration. It has proximity to roads passing by that would make for a harmful dog park if anybody ever got off leash. But all joking aside, I think that really our safest way and a most responsible way as a municipality is to Ms. Repos has indicated what we've heard many times before, and that is that we have put into reserve the monies that would be lost if this did not sell. And we've come to that conclusion. Taking possession of it puts the municipality into a higher requirement to clean anything that's found on the site than anyone else that would buy it. And if we were to write it off, it would put the selling price down to a more reasonable place where someone might want to do something and clean to the extent that they're required to, not at a municipal level, but at their level to use it for something other than a vacant lot where people throw their excess garbage. So I would think the prudent and proper way for us to do this is to take the write-off, to reduce the cost and re-advertise and see what happens. And in the meantime, our staff could, in the back of their mind, think about what they could do. But the reality is that there really isn't a lot of land there. It's surrounded by roads. So I would suggest that it's not a top-of-mind subject until we find out if someone would be willing to purchase it for the reduced number and for a way to clean it up if they wanted to use it again. It used to be a gas station. The tanks obviously have leached, but maybe someone in today's day and age where tank extraction, I mean, we were successful in another part of this community, in Ward 2, where a gas station was revived and is a very successful place to purchase goods and gasoline again. So maybe it can be an electric charging station for the future. But whatever it is, I think we think about it in the longer term, but we take the appropriate action to reduce its value and see if anyone is then interested in the property. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There were 2 tanks there, and I believe the previous Director of Planning had somebody come in and do testing on it. I'm not sure it's phase 1 or phase 2, and I believe those tanks were removed. Were they not? They wanted to check if they were leaking.
Well, I know.
They tore a building down because it was absolutely falling down.
Well, that 2 roads go through there. One is John, the other one is York.
Yeah.
York,
Yeah,
correct?
York. Yeah, it's right on the corner of John and York.
Right, so,
And
I know.
And it goes, behind it is a creek.
And I know there was, through the chair, I know there was some regional input on the cleanup for that when it came. When this came the first time, it was presented to the director.
I think, Madam Chair, this needs to be looked into in more detail, because I thought there was some testing done on that site to see if those tanks were leaking. And I thought something was, either they were removed or they found that they were not leaking. I'm not sure which one it was, but there was work by the township done on those facilities to prevent it from spreading to the neighbors. But it's been a while now, and the people that were involved in it are no longer here.
We'll turn to the CAO and perhaps the Director for further comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With our Director and Planning not here this evening, I'm sure he has that information you're seeking, but what we could do if Council was able to proceed with the recommendation at hand this evening, we can provide that additional information Council is looking for around the contamination, what's in the ground, what was the monitoring, what was discovered. We can provide that over email if that's helpful. And then if we're unable to sell, then that information is going to be able to come back. Perhaps we could print off some copies as well.
Is that helpful for you, Councillor Rayner?
Pardon?
I said not email.
Is that helpful
Not
for you?
email. You got it, buddy. Thank you.
We'll ensure that the clerk reaches out to you with that appropriate information.
That would be nice of the clerk. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I had a question, but I've now got completely thrown off. This is to the Director. Just to add further context, that if we go with the recommendation that administration is putting before us, and we are successful in the sale, just to capitalize on the fact that that will then start bringing in revenue for that site. Is that correct?
To the chair through yourself, yes, that's correct. If the township was successful and the property changed ownership hands, the hope would be that the new owner would be paying the appropriate property taxes so that we would have the cash flow generated from that property. Yes.
Very good, thank you. Is there any other questions from committee? Oh, Councillor Maychuk.
Through the chair, my apologies. Just a real quick question, just I think it's important for the residents to know. Over those 10 years or length of time trying to collect those taxes, what are the efforts made by staff to try to get those taxes which is owed to the township? Just so that people are more aware that the effort is made and there's a lot of effort and a lot of follow-up to ensure that any money owed to the township is asked for or requested, et cetera.
Through Chair Broderick to Councillor Maychuk. So in terms of properties becoming eligible for tax sale, there are very stringent rules that a municipality must follow under the Municipal Act. And over the years, this property, again, has been in arrears for several years. Administration makes several efforts to receive contact information for property owners to, make them aware of the situation that they're in. That communication could be through a phone, email, or letters. Once the property is eligible for tax sale, which is once a property is in arrears of 2 years or more, as of January 1st of that year, there are several steps followed in accordance with the Municipal Act to sorry, my apologies, for administration is following to ensure that customers are aware of the situation in order to make acceptable either payment arrangements or once a property is eligible for property tax sale and it's become registered, then again, very specific rules must be followed.
Did I answer your question? Great. Anybody else? Okay, I think the vote will be coming in front of you now. Look at that. And that carries. Okay, moving on to item CS 40-25, members of committee, verbal updates from members of boards and committees if required. Is there anybody that has anything that they would like to update the public about? Seeing nothing? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just in the absence of the mayor, we have our senior seminar coming up. You see it on the sign outside on Friday, June the 6th. They have 2 outstanding speakers, one on results of roads less traveled study by McMaster research people and support services available in Niagara, Happy in My Home for seniors. So anyone interested, please come out. The last one we had full capacity and the feedback was excellent. And I know the speakers that are coming here on behalf of the Age Friendly Committee are excellent speakers and there's lots to be learned by our seniors. So we hope they come and join us.
And that is June the 6th?
Yes. From 1 till 3 at the community center.
Okay, very good, thank you. Councillor Chichuk, the other Chuck.
That's right. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? In the spirit of one man's junk is another man's joy, this Saturday, West Lincoln is having their annual Junk in the Trunk sale at the Agricultural Society from the morning until 1 o'clock, and that is where spots are still available for you to park your car and open your trunk and take all the stuff you no longer want and put it up for sale to others. So you can go with a full trunk and come back with a full trunk if you like, but there will be the 4-H booth will be there providing its normal milkshakes and back bacon on a bun, and so you can talk to your and coffee, and so you'll talk to your friends or you can shop till you're dropped. Okay, that's this Saturday at the Ag Society. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, seeing no others, item CS 41-25, members of council, other business items of an informative nature. Seeing none. We have no business. coming aboard tonight, and now we're moving on to confidential matters. That the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239, Bracket 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. Recommendation 12.1, Manager of Legislative Services / Clerk, Justin Paylove. Citizen appointments on boards and committees, Heritage Committee. Application provided under separate cover. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. 12.1, Manager of Legislative Services / Clerk, Justin Paylove. Citizen appointments on boards and committees, Heritage Committee. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chichuk, and second by Councillor Maychuk. And then the vote will come in front of you. And now we will move into close. Welcome back. We are back from our confidential meeting, and I'm going to turn to the clerk for item 13, a disclosure of confidential matters.
Through the chair to the rest of council, I'll just need a mover and seconder for the motion. That administration proceed as directed in closed session.
Do I have a mover? Councillor Rayner, and second by Councillor Chichak. And you'll be putting that in front of us?
Yes.
The vote should be in front of you. And that carries. That brings us to adjournment. This meeting is adjourned at 7:49.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second portion of tonight's meeting, our first meeting of Community and Protective Services and Committee Agenda. We have our new director here this evening for Community and Protective Services. Welcome, Cynthia. And we also have Brianne, right? We have this evening. Welcome. Just note before this meeting starts, Mayor Ganan and Councillor Riley do send their regrets. Moving forward, comments can be made to members of the public in this matter on this agenda, advising the chair during the requested agenda items in the section. The public may submit written comments for the matter to J. Paylove of West Lincoln before 4:30 on the day of the meeting for consideration by the committee. Comments received after 4:30 on the day of the committee meeting will be considered the following council meeting. Comments submitted are included for the record. This meeting is live streamed and is recorded and available on the Township website. Moving on to our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in rich history, such as the First Nations as the Hattaway-Wendourong, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credits First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuits from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as a part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship on the land in which we live. Members of the committee, any change in orders of items on the agenda? Seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest on any of the items on this agenda? Seeing none, there are no appointments. We'll move on to request to address items on the agenda. I don't see anybody in the gallery. Kevin, anybody in cyberspace?
Not seeing any, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to consent agenda items. There are none. We'll go straight to communications. Item CPS 02-25. Maidens of the Mist Renaissance Festival, request for designation of the community festival. The recommendation reads that the correspondence from Greg Skurman, CEO Affairs.ca, dated April 28th, 2025, requesting that the Maidens of the Mist Renaissance Festival be designated as a community festival in order to obtain a special events permits from the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission be received, and that Council of the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln hereby designates the Maid of the Mist Renaissance Festival as a community festival for municipal significance in accordance with the Liquor License Act of Ontario and the Alcohol Gaming Commissions of Ontario, which festival is to be held on Friday, June 6th, and including Sunday, June 8th, 2025, at the West Niagara Agricultural Center at 7402 Mud Street, Grassy, Ontario. Members of the committee need a mover and a seconder for this. I got Councillor Bradrick and Councillor Chichuk. Members of committee, any comments or questions on this recommendation? Councillor Rayner, is that, yeah, you got one? Go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you. Just a little thing.
Little?
Grammatical thing. No, license. We are a British rule. This used to be the Dominion of Canada. We spell license the British way, not the American way. And I know right now with the conflict between Canada and the U.S., we want to keep things Canadian, so we should not use American words.
And how is this moving this,
So that should be changed.
recommendation forward? Is that,
My recommendation
to move it
is that
forward,
we
do you want it
spell
changed?
Canadian.
oh, really? Mr. Clerk, do you have a comment on the spelling?
Through the chair to Councillor Rayner, I do not have a comment on the spelling. I will take it as a friendly amendment.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
So do you want to put an amendment forward to change the name?
No, it's the same name.
Thank you. Any further comments, Madam? Councillor Chichuk?
I don't know a whole bunch about the Maids of the Mist, but I presume that they have qualified under all the regulations because there's really not a very fulsome report about this. But all the proper procedures will be followed and they will have security and qualified trained people at the bars, so.
Mr. Clerk?
Through the chair to Councillor Chichog, these come sometimes throughout the year, mostly from the West Niagara Fair. We follow a pretty similar procedure for all, as they are requesting simply just for that designation for the AGCO, as the AGCO requires it from us, from our perspective and our end. We meet all the thresholds required of us, which is usually fire safety plans, or if they're deciding to erect tents, if that follows our building code. It's kind of expected through the AGCO that they meet those regulations for serving alcohol. It's not really something that we enforce. However, from our perspective, similar to the West Niagara Fair, as I know council's very familiar with, is, tent construction, fire emergency routes, waste disposal, that type of thing. That's something that we follow through with, and those have all been met for, well, we have quite a few of them on this agenda as it happens, so we have met that requirement for all of them.
And through you, Mr. Chair, the reason I ask that is the next exact one has got a very fulsome explanation of why it is that we're approving, or they're asking and we're approving, hopefully, their event. But this one was just 2 lines, and I wanted to make sure. Sorry about that, but thank you for your fulsome report on their purpose.
Thank you, Councillor Chichuk. Councillor Maychuk.
Through the chair, I guess, to staff, I'm just curious what it is, and I know Councillor Chichuk has similar questions, what the festival is, what it's about. I'm just curious as to what Maid of the Mist Renaissance is.
Through the chair, I happen to have received these requests to the clerk's office, as they just require a letter from council essentially approving it for the AGCO's requirement. I know for this one, we did look it up just because we were interested, as we hadn't seen it before. It seems to be a true Renaissance festival. I think it actually has real jousting. Don't quote me on that. However, that's on the website. So I am taking that as gospel, I hope at least. There's other certain types of vendors. They seem to be selling certain crafts and stuff like that. However, they kind of do an educational piece as well. I know that's not probably the main thrust that a lot of people go for. However, they seem to approach it as an education thing as well for kids. They seem to advertise for it as well. It seems to be a wide variety. We don't typically require much justification. They just seek the permission, and we either deem it yes or no. However, for this one, as it's, I think, the first time that West Lincoln has seen this, or it may have come up in the past, seems to be a Renaissance education festival. However, real jousting.
Any more questions? I do have one. Through you, to this for myself, to either the CAO or the clerk. This is good that we see a community event happening at the Niagara Agricultural Center. As the fact of it coming, does it get posted on social media? Because the reason why I'm going to ask this question is there are other events like Mac and Cheese Fest and all these other festivals that are happening at the Agricultural Society that our residents are actually been calling saying, I didn't know about this. I just seen from a neon sign on the corner of, Mountain and Mud that there's a Mac and Cheese Fest. How are we getting the message out to the public for these events, which is good it's coming here, which I'm sure that it's going to get social media, but there's other events happening on occasion that I guess there's Cheesecake Festival and all this kind of stuff. Can you touch on that, Mr. Clerk, if possible?
Through the chair, and perhaps the CEO could pick up where I leave it lacking. I know these are just private events that they're just seeking justification to sell alcohol at.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps there's something to explore maybe to the CAO on a service level where we would advertise. However, I know that since it's a private event, that's not something that we are taking liability on and recommending. Perhaps there's some type of service delivery where we could find an avenue to help facilitate the advertisement of this so it gets out to the public.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not really sure what that would look like, so perhaps the CEO could provide a spotlight on that.
Mr. CEO?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, there is some need to be cautious of what the municipality endorses and promotes in terms of events and what we choose not to. Oftentimes, if just left to administration, it's not always clear what council might want to see promoted as a community event versus what isn't. There is a communication master plan that Ms. Dyson's department is working at developing. That could provide some clarity around this, so we can make note of this in the terms of finalizing the communications master plan. So when we come back to council, we can have some thoughts around that and see if we can get a framework together on what might make sense for us to recognize, promote, and what doesn't.
Which makes sense, and thank you for that follow-up. It's just events like the Cheesecake, I guess, what is it, the Cheesecake Festival or Fair and the Mac and Cheese Fair, their think it is a community event, so we're taking some, I guess, heat that we're not sending the message out, which I understand they are private events. So how do we, what I want to see maybe looked at is how can we, I'll get to their Councillor Chichuk as well, how do we get that message out there that, again, this isn't that we're having this, but again, things that happen there, how do we get away from it not knowing that it's a private event, that it's a community event? They all look like community events. So I'll just, if you want to touch on that, Mr. CAO, or you can just give your thoughts. I can go to Councillor Chichuk, whatever you'd like to do. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we'll take a look at this through the master plan. We'll talk to our communications specialist, and we come back to council, I think, later this year with that plan. We'll have some thoughts around that for you.
Okay, perfect. Councillor Chichuk.
It just struck me as you were speaking, Councillor Trombetta, that I just received a notice from the Ag Society. I'm a member. They're not picking on me or selecting me, but it's a very inexpensive membership, and I'd be happy to report from them But it's also something the town could probably enlist in. And it is events past. So what's happened there, not that that would be something we don't want to report on history, but they also have an upcoming events that is for the volunteers that will help with anything. And maybe we should get a copy of that, and that would help us. We could post it with their permission, because they're all public, for those that are public attending, to put it on some of the information we put out, like the brochure that says upcoming events. I know I get that too from the town. It's great. Tells me I could be busy 7 days a week. But, you know, it would blend. And I'm sure that if you will remember back to when the Ag Society was in the old fairgrounds in the middle of town, they had a much closer relationship with us because they didn't need to have so many events. But we were aware of everything they were doing at the fairgrounds. Now they are dependent on other revenues to keep the fairgrounds growing and stuff. So we would be probably giving an olive branch to them to put their events on our information system.
Just thank you, Councillor Chiak. Just the problem I think we're having as a councillor is that these events are going on, and they're thinking that they're town events, and we're not promoting town events, which are private events. And this is where we're looking, when people ask me, how come the town is not providing any information? I could have went to this, but you know, I'm driving by and only see a sign. That's the only information I get. So just want maybe to come in the future report how we can take the heat away from us if possible. So thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yep, open up for a vote, Mr. Clerk. Thank you for the discussion. License has been changed. Thank you. Are you voting, Councillor? Okay. And that carries. Moving on to item CPS 0325, International Plow Match and Rural Expo, the request for designation of a community festival. In this recommendation reads, the correspondence from Renate McGilvery dated March 20, 2025, requesting that the International Plow Match Expo be designated as a community festival in order to obtain a special permit of Alcohol and Gaming Commission be received, and that Council of the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln hereby designates the International Plow Match Expo as a community festival of municipal significance in accordance with the Liquor License of Act of Ontario and the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, which festivals it's to be held on September 16th to and including Saturday, September 20th at the West Niagara Cultural Society, or Centre, 7402 Mud Street, Grassy, Ontario. And I see Councillor Chichuk moving that. Councillor Maychuk is seconding that, and I'll open the floor to questions. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk. In the right meeting, Councillor?
He's not in the meeting.
He's not? Okay. We'll just go to him for hand votes. Okay, moving on to item CPS 04-2025, West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee, the minutes of April 4th, 2025. The recommendation that the minutes of the West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee dated April 4th, 2025 be received. I need a mover for that. Councillor Maychuk, Councillor Broderick is seconding. Comments or questions on this, on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll open to votes. Councillor Rayner, is it coming up or not? This probably won't come up again, but maybe the next one will. It's accepting those. There we go. And that carries. Moving on to CPS 0525, Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, the minutes of April 2nd, 2025. The recommendation that the minutes of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee be dated on April 2nd, 2025 be received. I need a mover for that. I got Councillor Rayner, seconded by Councillor Chichuk. Any comments or questions for that? Seeing none, And the vote's in front of you. Moving on to staff reports, item CPS 06, Fire Chief Tim Hofsink, information report WLFD 04-2025, monthly update April 2025. The recommendation reads the information report WLFD 04-2025 titled monthly update April 2025 dated May 20th, 2025 be received. I need a mover for that. Councillor Chichuk, seconded. Councillor Maychuk. Chief, do you want to report on anything? Usually nothing. We're all good before we go? Okay, so I'll go to comments to Councillor Chichuk. She was first, and second will be Councillor Rayner. Anybody on this side?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think that this is the first time Chief Hofsink is here with us today.
Correct.
And so I wanted to welcome you in your new position. I know the Chair had done that earlier at another meeting, so on the record, welcome. And we look forward to your reports, and if anything extraordinary, your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Rayner.
I missed the festivities. Was there a special judge or something comes in and gives you the extra bar, or what's the? I know in the military,
haven't come in yet.
In the military there is, but I was just wondering in this situation, maybe no, they just hand it to you.
Yep.
Okay.
Still in the mail.
I have a question for the new chief. A long time ago, at least it seems like a long time ago, we purchased a truck from Manitoba, and I had suggested that we not wear and tear and beat it up driving it all the way here, if we could flatbed it. And to this date, I have still not heard what I thought was a very simple question. Can we do it? I believe that the price included shipping it here, which means the company would have had to hire a person. They would have to fly them back. So there's a whole bunch of expenses associated with it that would offset having a flatbed take the truck here, and therefore we get a brand new, not broken in truck, but a truck that we can properly break in, that doesn't have a lot of unnecessary kilometers from a very long drive. But I have not heard any response from anybody, and I thought this would, like the next day I would find out. But anyways, have you got an update on the status? Is it a go, or do we have to do it the hard way and beat the truck up all the way from Manitoba?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Rayner, we did substantial investigation on what that would look like. We investigated whether or not it was feasible, whether or not it was possible. Certainly it is possible. Mm-hmm. There are services that provide this, to anybody who's willing to pay. What we're talking about is about $1 million vehicle, so the insurance cost alone was between $600 and $700. That was in addition to the shipping costs. Our admin did some research on the pricing for this, and it was running between $6,000 and $7,000 plus the insurance costs. So this was just a sort of an off-the-cuff, is it viable and what would it cost? Not sort of in an RFP capacity or anything of that nature. So there are services that that can do this for us, but the price of the truck included all of that rigmarole that you were mentioning about getting a driver back to Winnipeg and everything else. That's included in the purchase price as it had been quoted initially. So anything that we would do outside of that would be additional to that. Having said that, also, the people that the fire truck production company hire for this are former firefighters, typically, often retirees, and they are substantially familiar with the operation of fire vehicles, and they take that opportunity to make sure that everything is performing properly on the vehicle as it's being delivered. So I'd also like to note that the cabin chassis that is produced in a different facility is driven to the production facility for the body. So you don't get a vehicle that's going to have 0 kilometers on it really under any circumstances. So, this is basically the way that it's provided is the company who produces the truck assumes the liability for that vehicle until it is actually taken. We take delivery of it here in West Lincoln, and that insurance cost, the liability for that vehicle, any damages that may happen in that transit process, those are all borne by the producer of the truck. So that sort of keeps the township out of that, of that responsibility for any of that sort of liability. So as far as possibility, yes. As far as viability, debatable.
Thank you, through the chair to the chief. So the only question I've got then is, obviously, they're insuring it for the drive from Manitoba to here. So to me, that could be taken from their cost and say, okay, if we don't have to do it, then we just take that, their insurance money, and pay our insurance. So to me, that should be a wash. And what is their associated costs, and take that off the total of the 6,000. Like, I'm just confused why they haven't got a price saying, okay, if you want to take it from here, this is our associated cost with driving it here, this is our associated cost with insurance. If you want to pick it up, this is what we will take off the cost of this project. But since this was already purchased with delivery here, it's so different to me, because I'm used to FOB, freight on board, and you cover the, I'm not familiar with companies that actually want to ship their goods and take the chance. In the dairy industry, any equipment we have, it's shipped to you. The responsibility stops at the gate of the manufacturing facility, and you take the onus on from there. This is so unusual. And I purchase cars in the States, and I load them on flatbeds, and I ship them to Canada. And the cost when I bought my vehicle did not include shipping it anywhere in Canada or US or anything. So this, to me, is such an unusual arrangement where it includes shipping. And I know we haven't dealt with Canadian ones before, because we usually went outside. So this is a totally different twist. But there's just so many parts of this that are kind of convoluted from what I consider to be the logical, normal process, and the fact that they should be kind of willing to say, okay, this is our associated cost with taking it from our place to your place. If you want to look after it, you can take this off the bill. I don't know why that isn't such a big deal.
Councillor, I got Councillor Maychuk waiting patiently over on the other side of me. Do you have a question that do you need an answer for, so I can go to Councillor Maychuk? He's waiting patiently.
No.
Okay.
The whole thing just doesn't add up to me, but fine, if you think I should be done, I'm done.
No, he's waiting, I just don't.
Well, we all wait. I mean, normally you don't interrupt a person when they're talking, but you want to do that, that's fine. But, okay, I've said my piece, I say what I think, this doesn't add up to me, it doesn't make sense, and I'm not buying into it, but it's done deal, so move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you can.
Councillor Maychuk.
Through the chair, I think Councillor Rayner made some good suggestions, because we didn't want all that mileage. But to do that, does it change the terms and conditions of what we agreed to with this fire truck? And would it hold up the delivery of the fire truck? Because my understanding is the one we had is very old. We needed to replace it. I'd hate to see things being delayed. So those are basically my two questions. Does it affect the terms and conditions that are agreed upon in terms of the purchase price? And are we going to slow down the delivery, knowing that fire truck will serve a very important need in the community?
Thank you for your question, through you, Chair, to Councillor Maychuk. As far as the terms and conditions are concerned, I would suspect that because the liability would now be assumed by either the township or the alternative transport company, there would be some changes to that. I would expect that would be the case, because the manufacturer or provider of the body is not going to assume that liability, because, as Councillor Rayner said, they will stop their liability sort of at the gate. So I would expect that, there would be some sort of revision to that contract in that originally it had been written as, this is a Canadian manufacturer that ships all over Canada. This is just a part of the service that they provide. And, you want to, not take advantage of that service, then you would, of course, assume the liability for that. So that's why third-party liability insurance coverage would be required in order to make sure this extremely expensive piece of equipment arrives safely. There was a comment from the manufacturer that the only time that they've had a vehicle that was damaged in transit was being shipped. So it was not one that was being driven. So as far as the other question, I'm sorry, maybe you can refresh me on that one.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a sense, I'll just add to it, that it's reliable, they've done it before, and you referenced there would be an additional cost. I won't want to see the town absorb that, and I asked about the liability, and you addressed that question. So, yeah, I'm more concerned about the cost and the time frame. That was the second part. Would it slow down the delivery of that truck? Sorry.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Maychuk, I would expect that there will be some delays because there would be additional administrative work that would have to be taken on. So we would have to make sure that we, coordinate with the transport company to ensure that insurance, coordinate with the transport company to make sure that the delivery happens in a timely fashion. But as far as any details of when that would occur or how long it would take, unfortunately, I don't have that information in front of me right now. As far as any direct pressure about the existing equipment not being suitable for purpose because of the delays, the truck that we currently have is a fully functional unit. It is our frontline truck. It is due for replacement as per our capital budget requirements. And, thanks to council for making sure that happened, but we're not in any kind of time pressure as far as that is concerned where there will be some sort of dramatic expiration where the vehicle would suddenly become unusable or anything of that nature. It's not certainly in that sort of capacity.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chief. Any more questions? Call the vote. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And that carries. Moving on, item CPS 0725, Director of Community Protective Services, Cynthia Summers, Information Report CS 02 2025, West Lincoln Community Center 2024 update. The recommendation reads that the Information Report CS 02 2025 titled West Lincoln Community Center 2024 update dated May 20th, 2025 be received for information. Any move for that? Councillor Chichuk, seconded. Councillor Bradrick. Any comments or questions on the report? Seeing none, call the vote. Okay, and that carries. Moving on, any members CPS 0825, members of council, any other business of an informative nature? I'll start to my right. Councillor Rayner, anything? Councillor Chichuk?
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Bradrick? Councillor Maychuk? I have one. I just wanted to say I did attend the Station 2 drive-through barbecue. It was a good event put on by the members. I think when I did call, we had about 400 tickets sold. I think it was a big turnout. The weather wasn't the best. It was raining, but it seems that the cars were moving pretty quick. Do you want to just touch on that, Chief, a little bit, if you can?
Certainly. I wasn't able to attend the event myself, but I did understand that it was fully sold out, so thanks to all the members of the community that participated and the members of the council that took advantage as well. It was highly successful, and it sounds like everybody had a good time in providing the service to the community as well. Yeah. So thanks to everybody that supported the firefighters at Station 2. It sounds like they were very pleased with the turnout, and generally once they got things smooth, the logistics were pretty decent. It took a little bit of time.
It took a little bit, but it was moving. I was.
Yeah, it was. There were a lot of people, and they had to manage the flow, and it took them a little bit of time to get their rhythm. But once they did it, it sounded like it was a really great event. So, yeah,
excellent. Okay, well, thank you for everybody for that, and thank you for this meeting this evening. I have no new items of business. We have no confidential matters, so I'll adjourn this meeting at 8:22 p.m.